Welcome to NSA eNuggets series, a series of live talks on topics relating to active aging. These live talks will take place every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. here on C3A's Facebook page. You can share this live video with your family and friends too. After the live session, this video will be made available on both our Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this series of the NNuggets series by NSA. Today's topic is on Upcycle with Decoupage. My name is Doris, and I've been a Decoupage trainer for the last 7 years. We work in collaboration with Wings. We have organized several workshops over the past year, and I must say that the workshops have been very successful. We have participants feeding back to us that they have enjoyed the session and they have learned a lot. So what is decoupage? Decoupage is an art of decorating objects with paper cutout and paint effects. So what we do is we identify a certain print that we like, an image that we like. We will cut it out and then we will glue it onto an object. The object is thereafter being varnished over. Several coats are varnished over, and this will give it a lacquered look. The finished product is often pretty stunning, and I must say that some people actually mistaken it as being professionally painted. So let me take this opportunity today to do a short demonstration of how you can upcycle something that you have at home. So we have identified for this session how you can upcycle a glass jar. This is something very common that you can get hold of at home. With this same technique that I'm showing you today, you can also decoupage on a glass bottle. So like for example, we have some on display. These are some of the bottles that you can make up for yourself. So once you have identified, for example, the jar, first of all, you need to remove the labels, and thereafter clean it properly. Use an alcohol swipe that you can degrease the surface before you paint on it. So this is an alcohol swipe. Okay, we will just clean the jar. The whole surface, you need to clean it so that the paint will actually be able to stay on better. Okay, so once you have cleaned and identified what you are using to upcycle, the next will be to find out and identify what prints do you want to have to go onto the jar. So for example, today I'm going to use these 3 napkins for the jar. Besides your napkins, what you will need will be to have ready some paint, okay, a variety of colors, brushes for the paint, the glue, and the varnish, a sponge, which is very necessary when we are working with napkins, a tub of water, towel to keep your hands dry, and of course you need glue and varnish as well. Okay, so with the napkins, I need to highlight the important thing about napkins is that it comes in 3-ply. So when you want to work on it, you need to remove the bottom 2 layers. Okay, so let's just peel the bottom layer out. 1, and then there's another layer below. So peel off away 2 layers. We are only using the top layer with the prints for our decoupage. Right? So when you peel this off, do it gently because the paper is very thin and we don't want to tear it out. So this is what we do. We will only use the top layer of the napkins. All right, for your jar, because it's pretty small, you will need all of it. So what I'll do is I will just use this heart design to paste it onto the jar. Okay, and I will tear it out using my fingers, tear out the outline. Okay, we try not to cut, because if you cut, you actually have a very distinct straight line. And it's not as nice as if you tear it, you will have some very jagged and smooth edges when you paste the napkins onto your project. So this is what we do, we tear this out. Okay. So it's very easy. Don't worry if you happen to tear a little bit offline. You can always paste it back again, join it back. Okay. Other than this print, we will usually use more than one because we want to make it look more interesting. We will add on any other designs that you like. So in this case today, I have chosen 2 other prints. So they are this flower to go with the heart shape, some flowers and some butterfly to add on. Okay. Now, I have actually got this ready, so later on we will use part of this flower to stick onto the jar. So before we go on, the first step, after cleaning the jar, you will have to also paint it with paint colors. Anything that you like, whatever color that you choose, you can use. However, because when you use napkins, you must have very light painted background. Don't use anything too dark, because that will not look nice. For example, if you have this white background and you have something dark and red as your background, the whole heart will look red. All right. So if we want to keep to a whitish background, we have to use lighter color for your paint. So let me just show you how you can color this. So as I said, because we wanted to use light background, I would usually use some white. Yeah. Okay. Now in this case, to go with this jar, I will add in some blue, yellow, and even pink. Okay, so usually it will give a nice background appeal if you use at least like maybe 3 colors, yeah, or sometimes even 4 if you want to. But in this case now, we're just going to use these 3 colors, yeah. So I will do this. I will use this dapper sponge, put some white, add some maybe blue, okay. Okay, I'll even the color out onto the plate. And then how do you sponge in? It's very easy. You just dab onto your jar, like this. Okay. We would normally want to have a different tone of the colors as we paint this. We don't want to have just one color like just the blue. So if we add in a second color here, yeah, we can just do this. Continue to apply whatever color you want. Even if I want some pink, I could just do this again and add on pink to the jar. Okay. Okay. You will have to do this throughout the whole background. In fact, for some of you, if you wish to kind of just have this, whole thing colored, you can. Otherwise, you could also just leave some blank space, yeah? And because eventually we may just use it as a lighted kind of lamp, the lights will then be able to penetrate through this jar, okay? So this is what will happen. Yeah, I have actually prepared something that is already complete. Okay, sorry, before I go on to show you this other jar which is already completed prior to the demo, after you have painted the colors, you will need to use a hairdryer to blow dry this whole jar before you go on to your next step. The idea is to speed up the process would be to use a hairdryer, but if you're working from home on a sunny day, for example, you know, just leave it under the sun and let it dry naturally. Yeah, but for our workshop purpose, we usually use a hairdryer because we want to expedite the process. Okay, so I'll put this aside. And okay, so after you have finish your color. So you can see I have some tinge of yellow, blue, you know, pink over the whole jar, and it's already dried. All right. So your next step after you have colored the background would be to apply a layer of glue onto this. Okay. The glue will of course be to help you to stick the napkins on eventually. Yeah. So with this brush, I will paint very gently, go through the whole surface of the jar and make sure that it's nicely covered with glue. Nicely covered with a thin layer of glue. You don't have to have a very thick layer because that would mean that you will take even longer to dry this bottle, right? A lot of people will ask, you know, how long does it take to dry the glue? Basically, it should be about maybe 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the object that you have, okay? But don't dry it for too long because it actually meant that you could have the bottle and the glue already dried, but if you continue to dry further, it means that you are melting the glue, right? So as you are doing it, make sure you check whether it is good enough, whether it's dry enough. Just use your finger and touch, okay? So again, I'll go on next with the design of the layout of this jar that I'm going to do. We have a hairdryer here. Yeah, when you use your hairdryer, just turn it on and then dry. Keep this about maybe 3 or 4 inches away from your object and just dry the whole surface. Okay. Okay. There goes. I have one more of this that is already dried. Yeah, all prepared to show you how you can go on to your next step of assembling this whatever prints that you have identified that you want to paste onto the jar. Yeah, and this part will be what I need to show you. We call this a sponge-in method. Okay, when we use a jar, what we have done is we have painted, we have glued, and the glue is dry. So when we want to stick this on, we will need a sponge to dab it in. We can't leave this sticky while you are doing this because then you cannot move your napkins around, you know, because sometimes people might change their mind about the layout or the prints. So at this stage, you can still do it because you have a dry surface, yeah. So, okay, I'm going to have this here, yeah. So, the interesting step with doing with napkin is that you need a sponge to sponge this in to stick the napkin on. So you will need to have a tub of water. You dip your sponge inside, okay, fully, and you squeeze out the excess water, okay. So wipe your hands dry, because you cannot touch the napkins with your wet hand. It tears easily, so always keep the back of your hands dry. Okay, so a towel is always needed when you are doing this. So okay, this is where I'm going to place my napkin. And to sponge this in, I will do it from the center. Usually you do it from the center. Okay, press it in. Wait for just a few minutes, just a while, to make sure that the water penetrates through. And you see, you have your napkins pasted onto the jar. Okay, so from the center, you move outwards, right? You can make sure that this is straight. You move outwards, yeah? Okay. Okay, and this is how you do this, yeah? And then we go on to the other side, okay? Okay, check through and make sure that the whole napkin has been sponged in nicely. As you do this, you go on to an up and down motion with some pressure as you go to the surface. Don't go sideways, because you will just tear off the napkin. Yeah. So this is how we do this. Okay. So once this is done, with each piece that you have sponged in, you should blow dry before you go on to the other prints. Yeah, so we need to blow dry this. Okay, again, what we will do is move it around, your hair dryer, move it around. Yeah, just for about maybe 1 to 2 minutes is all you need. Yeah. The reason why we want to dry at this point in time is that we do not want to accidentally touch on the napkins. Again, like I said, I must always emphasize that the napkins are very thin and it will tear easily, especially when it's wet. So that's why we need to dry at this stage, yeah, before we go on to the next whatever complementary design that you choose to paste on. Sorry. Okay, so now this is done. This is your first side of the napkin on this jar. We will go on to the rest of it. Okay, so with whatever napkin design that you have, you can always take a look and decide which part of this print you want to use. Okay, so I have something already done here. Okay, so we're going to add this on. Maybe, let's see where it's good. Probably here. Okay, move around. It's up to you whether you want to put it upright or whether you choose to do it at the bottom. They're all nice, you know, it's up to the creativity of the person who is doing this, yeah. So let me just maybe do it here. Okay, so my next step would be to sponge in this napkin. So check your sponge again. If it's not wet enough, you can dip it into the water one more time. Again, dry the backs of your hands. It's very important. And then make sure this is straight. And then we sponge this in. Okay. Okay, now. Okay, put some pressure so that you know this will stick in nicely. Okay. Okay, so after this, let's dry again, okay? The thing about when you work with napkin is that you should not overlap the designs because it will clash, yeah, because it's thin. Whatever is shown on the back will be seen through the top of the napkin, so it will clash and it will not look nice. So avoid overlapping. Now, because there is a slight overlap here, yeah, and this comes out because there's no glue, what I'll do now is to add a little bit of glue onto the back, and then I'll sponge in again. Okay, so no problem, you can just do this, yeah. And then we'll sponge it in again. Yeah. Okay, so this is nicely stuck onto the jar. Okay, you see, we only have very little space left to work on. It's really up to us whether at this stage you want to add any more prints, because sometimes it's nice to leave some blank space because after all you spend a bit of time working on the colors of the background, so you don't have to cover every single area of the jar. Okay, so let's see if I have something that I can add on, something small. Okay, I have actually also have this butterfly here. Maybe I could, yeah, it fits in nicely. It fits in nicely. So we can add this on, yeah? So again, add this on. Ouch, sorry. Maybe. Okay. So just press this in, and I have a butterfly here, yeah? Okay, so we have completed the full design. What next will be to varnish this, yeah? Varnish because we want to protect the paper, the paint, yeah, and the varnish will also protect the whole artwork, whereby in future, if you just need to clean the jar, you can just gently use a wet cloth and just clean it up. Okay, so let me show you how to varnish. Varnish is very simple because all you need to do is just go through the whole surface and just make sure that there is a layer or two of the varnish on top. For most of our projects, we usually encourage the students to just varnish twice. After each coat, you need to dry before you do the second coat. Okay, so I'll just varnish this to show you. Yeah, just like that. When you apply varnish, again, do it with very gentle strokes because you don't want to accidentally brush off any paint or paper that you have stuck onto the jar, okay? The first coat is especially important with your light strokes so that you do not brush off whatever paintwork that you have, okay? So go through the whole jar, blow dry, and then you will go through again one more time. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have done. It's complete now. I will blow dry. So we just like I said earlier, hold the dryer about 3 inches or so away from your project. Blow dry this, and what you need to do is to do another layer. Before you do the next layer, just make sure that it's dry, that this is dry, and then you will apply a second layer. Okay? For this demo purpose, I don't think I need to go through a second layer to show you. It's the same way of doing it. Yeah, but what I like to do is for us to just check through the whole thing, decide whether we want to add any more colors to enhance further the artwork. So maybe this is possibly quite okay on the body, yeah, but maybe highlight something on top. Yeah, it may look nicer. So I will use this. I will use this gold paint, yeah, to bring up the whole look of what we've done. Yeah. So let me just change my tray. Yeah. Okay. I will use a brush to go on top. Yeah. So just do this, go on top, yeah. So you see, when you apply paint on your project, there are 2 ways you can do it. In this case, I'm using a brush to apply the color onto the project. But of course, you have also seen earlier on, you could actually use a sponge. Both ways are okay. You just have to decide which way you are more comfortable with and which way would look nicer. You know, from the way that you handle, you will be able to tell what is good, what is better. Yeah. So okay, so this is maybe, I think this is sufficient as a highlight for your jar. Okay. Again, we blow dry this. Okay. After this painting, we will have to varnish over the color again. All right, so we will do this, yeah. This is like what I said earlier, is really to protect your paint color. Okay, so just varnish as same thing 2 times, should be good enough. Okay, blow dry. Okay, test to make sure that it's dry. Yeah, it's dry, and this is complete. All right. If you want to embellish the jar further, what we could do is use any kind of ribbons that you may have. This is just to further add on something. If this is what you want, add on the ribbon. Let me just do this for you. Okay. You could leave it plain if you want to, if you decide that you don't need the ribbon. You don't need to have the ribbon, but some people like to add on something. Maybe it would look slightly better, yeah, better now. Well, for a jar like this, once you have upcycled it, you know, you could use it as a display, just like this, or if you have something like this, I actually use a jar that I've done before, yeah, and I have turned it into my stationery holder, Yeah, all my brushes, all my work tools are here. It's very nice, yeah. And I'm sure you all can do it too, yeah. Yes, you can, yeah. Okay. This one, if you want to, you could add on a light, and then bedside lamp, suitable for your home as a decor. It could even be given away to your family or friends, especially if it's for a special occasion. You can personalize it somehow. Well, this is maybe for a wedding couple or something, you know. All you need is love, yeah? So that's all in terms of this demo. I hope you find this simple and easy to do at home while you have this period of time at home. Find something that you can lay your hands on. Don't throw away all your old jars now. Take them out, give it a new look, upcycle it. Well, it's really pretty now. Yeah, upcycle it and make use of it. Don't throw them away. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this session, and also if you are interested to learn more, do check out the Wings website for more details. It's really fun if you get the opportunity to attend workshops that you can share ideas with the other participants and make friends, you know, with people of same interests. So we hope to see you in one of our sessions soon. Do call on Wings or check their website to register. Thank you.
Stay tuned for the next session of the NSA e-Nugget series, which goes live every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. on C3A's Facebook page. You can check out our talk schedule at www.c3a.org.sg and for more resources on how you can age well. For inquiries, you can call 6478 5026. Thanks for watching. See you soon.